Every model in Django has a manager, and in this video we are going to go to the depth of the Django ORM and understand how Django's model managers work and how to make our own custom Django model managers. So let's get started. Now we Django developers know how easy it is to query databases using Django. It's just like this. But today we're going to get under the hood and see what actually happens. What's the magic? So let's get right into it. The inner workings of the Django ORM. So as we all know, or at some point you might have written a model yourself, and here I have written a simple model that shows you that's named furniture, and it has some simple fields like a type field that's a char field, okay, and it should be a choice, it should have choices and everything, but for now I've kept it simple. Type field is a char field with max length 100, as simple as that, and price is models.float field. And if you don't know what float field is, it is decimal field. Like you can have an integer point some number, that's float field. And here we have a dunder stir method, that is dunder str, which means it will, whenever you print a furniture instance, that's an instance of the furniture model, you will get self.type, that is the furniture's type. Okay, so if the furniture's type is wood, or if the furniture's type is glass, then it will print that type. This is the simple Django database model. Okay, now you can make migrations, migrate, that is you can do python manage.py, make migrations, python manage.py, migrate to take it to the database, and you can do all the stuff that you see over here. So querying the database using Django, we know how simple this is, or storing database data in Django. Like if you just want to query the database, it's like if you want all the furniture there is, then you do furniture.objects.all. If you want the furniture of the type wood, then you do furniture.objects.filter type equals wood. Or if you want to get something, or some furniture with an ID of F001, then furniture.objects.get ID equals F001 will do the job. Now the thing that we don't get here is, what is this objects? Do you get that? And we have some methods like .get, .filter, .all on it, but what is this objects? Now why do you need to understand what this objects is and its inner workings is very important, because if you want to build your own models, then you need to understand how Django works with its models. Okay, now over here this green box is Django's green color, and here we have a model and a manager. Okay, in Django we have a model and we have a manager, then the manager communicates the changes to the database. Do you get that? Actually the manager is the class that works with the database, and every model has a manager. It's not something very different from a simple Python class. Like if you go over here, you can see over here, yeah, you can see that we have done furniture.objects.all, objects.filter, objects.get. Now what is this objects? Now this objects is the manager. Like if you see over here in below this diagram, there you will see furniture.objects.all. now furniture is the model, whereas objects is the manager, and all is the method that we are calling from the manager. And every default manager, that is objects, like whenever you create a model like this, like furniture or something, any model, Django will create a default default manager named objects for that model. Okay, now you can rename the manager, you can do various things with it, but it will have some default methods on it, and all is one of those methods. Then you have filter, get, and other methods as well. You have create, you have save, and many other methods. Now we move on and see it with an example. Now here I have an example for you. Okay, I've started or created an app before that I should say I've created a project that is school model managers app. So I'm going to show you model managers in this project. So school model managers example is the name of the project, and school is our app over here, and I've added that app to our settings, install apps. I've done the make migrations and migrate, and here we come to our models. Now I have migrated this model, that is person. Now person is a simple model which pertains to a person in a school. Now what kind of person you can get in a school? A person can be a student or a teacher or a principal. Now the person is going to have a name, and he or she is going to have a designation, that is DESG, or what that person is actually. Like he can be a student, teacher or principal, so that's the designation. And these are the designation choices, that is S for student, T for teacher, P for principal. It becomes STP, standard temperature pressure. Anyways, bad pun. Well, and here we have two char fields, that is one for name and one for the designation, and here we have max length defined for both, like 100 for this, 1 for this. And here I have defined choices over here, you can see, that is designation choices. And now we are going to create managers for student and teacher. Now before that, you'd like to see what's the utility of these managers, why do we use them, and whether you will use them in your Django development or not. Let us see the Django documentation, our best friend. Now I'll link this below, you can go over there and have a look yourself. This section which I'm reading has a heading of full example, so you can when you go to the link over there, you can simply search it, a full example, and it will give you an example about how to make a custom model along with a manager. Okay, it will give you options like logging in without a username, using your email, and doing other things like social authentication. And that's all kind of related to Django Auth, and we are going to do it in the next video, which is related to the hotel management system app that we are building. But yes, definitely this video is a precursor to that, where I'm explaining what and how a manager works, because that's very important if you want to create a custom user. Now if you're extending your user from abstract base user now, that's important, like you can use your manager over here. Now what happens when we create a normal model is that Django gives you a default manager by itself, which is called objects. But when you create a user model, it is very deeply rooted into the admin side and all the other apps, that you have to create two methods which have to be created explicitly, and you cannot use more objects, the default manager for it. So basically you have to create your own manager, that is the base user manager over here, define create user, and have self, email, date of birth and password. Email because we don't want to use username as our default, because that's convenient, right, using emails. And this is the way they have used managers. There are many other examples over here too, but I've made my own example to show you how managers work. So let's go over here. We have the person model over here. Let's create a manager for teacher and for student. So first we'll create one for student, and I'm not going to create one for principal, because principal is kind of a teacher who has additional privileges. That's, you can simply extend principal model out of the teacher model, and the teacher model can be extended out of the person model if the need be so. Okay, it's not necessary, but just if you need it, you can do that. So we'll create a student manager. Now the student manager is going to extend from models dot manager, and now we are going to override our get query set method, super dot get query set dot filter. Now we'll filter it by designation. So DESG, that's our designation, equals S, student. Now here on the person model, we are going to add students, and that students is gonna be not models dot I mean that students is gonna be student manager, open and close parenthesis. Now one thing that's to be noted here is that you have to inherit from models.manager and not models.model. Okay, remember that, models.manager. And here you can define as many things, I mean as many methods that you want on a specific kind of person. Like if you have a person over here, you have student, teacher and principal. Now you want some methods to be on a student but not on the teacher. You can define that in the student manager. Now if you want something to be just confined to the teacher space, you don't want that method to be related to the students, then you can define a teacher's manager and define your methods over there. Now I'm just going to duplicate this into teacher manager, and I'm going to filter with designation to be T, and I'm going to duplicate it here and teacher manager, and this is going to be teachers. Now what you can do over here is simply run python manage.py. I think I had done it before, so yeah, let's see, python manage.py shell, and now you can test it out. Now you can put your managers in a managers.py file and import them over here. That's even better. That's actually something that should be recommended, but these are very small managers and they don't need to be put somewhere, or this is just for demo purposes. Okay, for production ready code or for some really good code, do the appropriate thing, put it in the managers.py file. For now, let's see, from school.models import star. Now we're going to try and we're going to make a teacher and a student and then try to access them using these managers. Okay, so let's try that. I'll say S1, or I'll say we'll create a teacher first. T1 equals teacher, not teacher. Teacher is not, and teacher is not a model. So person dot objects dot create. What should be the name? Name will be teacher 1. Sorry, and the designation will be simply T. Oh, it should be capitalized. Person has no attribute objects. Oh, is there something I'm missing? Person dot objects. It should be working. Well, let's wait for a while. So basically it was not a big issue. I had to simply make migrations and migrate because I was playing with this example before making this video and I had not migrated after that. So after that's done, I'm going to quit from the shell. Hey guys, so I solved it. Yeah, there was some simple stuff that I had forgotten. I mean, things happen. Now if you define some custom managers on your model, you have to define what objects is. Now here we can see the attribute error that type object. Person has no attribute objects because we have not defined what objects is. Now objects is going to be models.manager, the manager class, and we are not going to extend the manager class in any way. So simply we are going to use the object, that we are going to say that objects is models.manager. Okay, now this should work, but before that works, I'll have to make migrations and migrate. Well, it's taking quite a while. Yeah, it's done. And here I'm using Django shortcuts, the Python package. You can simply do pip install Django shortcuts this way. Remember, it's Django -shortcuts. Okay, now if you install Django shortcuts, then there are multiple Django shortcuts you can see on the PyPy page of Django shortcuts. Django mm means Django make migrations, and Django m means Django migrate. That is Python manage.py make migrations and Python manage.py migrate. Instead of those, you can use Django mm and Django m. Now all the migrations are done. Let's go to our Python shell, restart it, and now this should work. Let us do that. Okay, from school.models import star. Now person, let's check if we are getting that error anymore. Person.objects .all. Okay, we are getting a query set and no more attribute errors, so we have solved it. Now we can do one more thing, that is rename this objects to something else. We can rename it to people, humans, or anything else that is suitable for the whole query set, instead of students or teachers, which filters out certain people. So now we're going to create our teacher, that is t1 equals, oh my typing, person dot objects dot create, and now we're going to pass a name and designation. Name is gonna be teacher. I'll say my teacher, and designation is gonna be T. So let's do that. And now we're going to do t1.save, and let's do person.objects.all. Okay, now we get person1 and person2. Oh, I think I ran the t1 equals person.objects.create twice, so yeah, we have two teachers now. Great. Now we are going to test our teacher manager. Okay, now we're going to do person dot, instead of objects, now we're going to use our teacher manager, that is person dot teacher, I think it's teachers dot all, and here we have our two people. We're going to create a student and save the student. Person dot objects dot create, name is my student, and our designation is S. Let's hit enter. s1.save. Now let us do person dot teachers. No, instead let's replace teachers with students. Now we should get just one student that we have created right now, and we get it. That's the person third object. Okay, now let's see what's the person's name. Let's access the first from the query set, and the name is my student, the one we just created right now. And if we do person.objects.all, we should get all of those. Now that we have seen how the Django ORM and the model managers work and how to make your custom model managers, we will see where they should be implemented. Like if you have a query set which is to be filtered, or a method which is to be run on a query set, then you use the model manager to place that method in it. But if you have something that just pertains to one instance of the model, then you place it in the model itself. Then you place that method in the model itself. An example will tell you better. Like if you think about the student example that we saw on the computer, if you think about it, in the database you have a student table. Okay, now that student table contains, assume it contains the data of a classroom of students, and you want the top 5 students of that classroom who have topped in that exam. Then what you do is you make a method on that model manager of the student model to query which 5 students have topped the exam. Okay, so you filter those students according to their marks and get those 5 students, and that's it. That is where you use your model manager, and it will help you put your logic in good bits and pieces. And now if you have a method which gives you hobbies of a student, now all the students are not going to have same hobbies or something. Hobby is something which is personal, and it is just relating to one instance of the student model. Like it is just relating to this student or this student or this student. One student may like drawing, other may like something else, other may like programming. So to get the hobbies of a student, what you do is you declare a method get hobby on the student model itself, not on the student's model manager. A method is to be declared on the student's model manager when the method has to deal with the querying of the database relating to the student. So that's how it is done. So I hope you learned something new in this video. If you liked the video, hit the like button, and if you want more of such videos, then hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you will be notified. So see you in the next one.